Okay, I shall start with making the pastry. I use 4 ounces of flour. And I normally just use the pie dish for mixing the pastry as well. Now, for butter and lard is 1 ounce each, so it's 2 ounces of fat. If you're into vegetarian and all that, you could just use all butter or use some of that white fat that you can get, but I don't really trust this white fat stuff. I think this whole trans fat stuff kills you faster than a bullet, so I just use lard. That'll do. That's my butter. The secret of making a good pastry is to mix it in quite quickly. So I first rub it about a bit to mix the fat, flour, turn it into a crumbly mixture. I add a little bit of water in order to get a smooth pastry. To work it very quickly so that it doesn't get that elastic texture you'd want in a bread, but you get a crumbly texture for a pastry. I place it in the fridge. Right, apples. We have a tree that produces these tiny little things. They're right pain if you've got to peel and core them all, but they do provide an excellent flavour. What I also like to do is, some of the apples I leave the skin on. It does give a nice flavour. Now this is our larger apple. First cut it ideally right along the middle. Second thing I do is I cut out the flower at the one end. This one's got a bit of a canker there, and the stem. Then I go around and cut out the core like this, and then I'll peel the half apple just like this. Right, and we've got so many apples that I'm not really overly concerned with being very efficient here, just as long as the job gets done, and sort of slice it up like this. Well, I think you get the idea. Okay guys, we're about halfway through with the apples. I'm now going to deal with the quince. Now these guys are rock hard, so I need a different kind of knife to get the cores out. Essentially a quince is a close relationship of an apple or a pear, but you can't eat it raw. It's rock hard and it's got the most amazing flavour. Because it's slow cooking compared to the apples, it needs to be grated so that it will cook in the same time that we allow for the whole pie to be cooked. Right, so the apples are prepared. I'm now going to put some sugar on top. I don't measure the sugar. I reckon it'll be around 150 grams or something for this size. Maybe more, maybe less. I just do it like this because I know how sour the apples are. Of course, it largely depends on what kinds of apples you use. If they're sweet apples, you don't need that much. If they're really sour apples, you want loads. Right, here we go. Next thing is to roll the pastry. Now, in theory, we should have 2 rolling pins, but I can't find either of them. So, plan B is to use a bottle of wine. And I roll mine out into an oval shape because, well, the pie dish is an oval shape. And make sure it's large enough to cover the whole area. Sort of that measures. Now comes the interesting part, because you cut the edge off. So what do you do with the remaining pastry? I'll show you in a minute. I brush some water on the surface. I sprinkle it with a mixture of sugar and cinnamon, which gives it a nice sort of crunchy texture and cinnamony flavour. Now, as I said, I do this quite often, so I've already got some mixed here. I just use a little jam jar and take some sugar and mix in cinnamon. Give it a nice even spread, as best as I can, with the left hand, just so that you can see it better on the camera. Okay, wonderful. So what do we do with the rest? Oh, we make some decorations, of course. A flower. So give it a stem. Middle of the flower, some sort of a there, and then each flower petal I form like this out of a little bit of pastry. As I make a little cigar shape, squash it flat, makes a petal. So we've still got some left, so I tend to make leaves. There's a leaf. Here we go. Beautiful, that's that. Okay, the oven is heated to 170 degrees. Put the pie in. Leave it there for about 40 minutes or so. Right, now it's about 45 minutes later. I think it's time to take this guy out.